Good morning everybody, I am Sarah with the trains, and today I'm heading off on what should be my final video exploring the Cambrian Coast on one of those great Explore Cambrian Coast tickets from Transport for Wales. The first station of the day is going to be Machynlleth. I am pretty excited about this because it's only taken 3 years for me to get to this point. Let's head off on our first train. We have made it to Machynlleth. So I am currently standing on the Aberystwyth/Borth bound platform. It is chucking it down once again. It wasn't when I left Talabont, but there we go. The station here at Machynlleth was opened in 1863 in January by the Newtown and Machynlleth Railway. In July that same year, the Aberystwyth and Welsh Coast Railway opened their line to Borth. In the lower yard at the station, there are a number of sidings that connected to transshipment wharves. These were connected to the Corris Railway and were for the transshipment of slate. The first wharf opened in 1863 and was leased by the Aberystwyth and Ratgoed Quarry, and other wharves were leased by other quarries in the local area. The Corris Railway maintained their own Machynlleth station, which saw passenger services until 1931 and slate services until 1948. There was a small engine shed built here in 1863, and that was extended by the Cambrian Railways later, but the extensions were removed in 1966 when the shed stopped servicing steam locomotives. The majority of services coming here from Penultimate and Aberystwyth combine to make a service going to Birmingham International and Shrewsbury, and going in the opposite direction they separate to go off to Penultimate and Aberystwyth. Now let's have a look round and see what we've got here at the station. I mean, the main thing we've got here at the station at the moment is a lot of rain. We do still have 2 platforms. Up there we've got a footbridge which was put in 2016, with the original being donated to Cambrian Heritage Railways. Got one of my favourite things, which is an old Victorian postbox. Out here we've got toilets which I may make use of. Now heading up over the footbridge. There are lifts to provide level access between the platforms. We've got a lovely waiting shelter, complete with defibrillator. In the waiting shelter, somebody has written hello. One thing you do also get here at Machynlleth is that there are bus announcements, and one of the bus announcements is for a bus going to Bangor. However, don't get it confused with the Bangor up on the North Wales coast. You'll be very disappointed if you get on the bus hoping to get to there. There is another waiting shelter on the Birmingham/Shrewsbury bound platform with a lovely BR totem style sign. Today's going to be another really fun wet journey. That being said, let's head back over to the Aberystwyth bound platform and see what's outside the station. Although I think I'll get the lift rather than going up the stairs.
Doors opening, lift going up.
forgot to mention, there is still a shed here at Machynlleth, and parking is £5.50 per day. We'll take a look at the league table. So in my haste and in the rain, I hadn't read the sign properly. This actually relates to parking at the nearby Mid Wales storage facility and has nothing to do with the station car park, which is actually free. There is still a lovely station building here, if you can see that through the drops of rain on the lens, where there are waiting rooms, a ticket office, and that way is toilets. I'm going to take refuge in the waiting room, I think. So I am here at Bow Street. Don't worry, I'm not in trouble with the Lord. That is a very different Bow Street. This Bow Street was opened by the Aberystwyth and Welsh Coast Railway in 1864. It played host to some camping coaches during the Great Western Railway era and the era of the western region of British Railways. However, in 1965, it fell victim to the beaching axe. Then in 2015, the Welsh Government commissioned a report to look into reopening this station, and in December 2016 they applied to the government for £4 million in funding for the reopening of the station on a site to the south of the original station. This was approved by the Department for Transport in 2017, and this station was officially opened on Valentine's Day 2021. Now, when I got off the train here, there was perhaps a slightly unusual welcome. I'll show you. That house says welcome to hell. Aside from that, at the station we have got just the one platform, a lovely waiting shelter with people sheltering inside, a dot matrix display, nice shiny station sign of course, a sign about the Cambrian line. Now I have noticed one problem with these, and that is that the train in the picture is a class 197. The 197s do not run on this line. Only 158s run on this line. So heading out of the station, we have got some information about rail replacement bus services. You've got the option to go out either down some steps or a lovely level access ramp. So let's take that option. Out here we have got a ticket machine, as well as quite a sizable car park. I'm not sure if this is pay and display, but we'll go and find out. Directly outside the station you do also have the bus stop. Now the display inside the bus stop says refer to timetables. However, I cannot see any timetables in this bus stop, so I'm guessing they expect you to look those up online. Right, so I found the sign at the entrance to the car park that says it is for railway users only, but there is no mention of pay and display. So I'm taking it. This is another free Welsh railway station car park. Ah, I see that car park functions as a park and ride. I've just discovered that the Ceredigion County Show is on today. So we don't have very long here at Bow Street at all before we head off to our next station, which is Borth. But I'm pleased to say that the sun has well and truly come out, although I'm not going to count my chickens before they hatch, because it's entirely possible that the weather will change drastically once again and I'll get soaked once again. But fingers crossed, this is how the rest of the day goes. There you are. We have made it to Borth. Borth was opened in 1863 by the Aberystwyth and Welsh Coast Railway on their line that would ultimately go all the way from Machynlleth to Aberystwyth, believe it or not. The station had 2 platforms, as well as a goods yard. It was also home to various camping coaches during the Great Western Railway era, Western region of British Rail, and the London Midland region of British Rail. The station building does still exist, but it's mostly not in railway use anymore. There is a waiting room, and also in 2011 volunteers started the process of converting the old booking office into a little museum. Here is the entrance to aforementioned museum, but sadly it is not reopening for the summer season until the 5th of July, and I am filming this on the 14th of June. Do like the picture of the sheep on the platform though. These days we just have the one platform at Borth. There is still the old canopy attached to the building for when you need to shelter from the horrendous rain that sometimes occurs. Up there we do have a lovely old clock. I do wonder how old that is. We've got some lovely artwork in this old window, and they seem to be doing some work to the columns that hold up the canopy here. And one other thing we've got at Borth is some really lovely views of the mountains and of sheep. Heading out this way, we've got more artwork and a couple of mosaics there to welcome you to Borth. There's also this interesting sign about the history of the station, and it talks about how Borth was just a little fishing village essentially before the railways came, and a rather interesting anecdote about 4 tourists who came to Borth before the line had been joined up, and nowhere was willing to put them up, so they settled down under a tarpaulin in a contractor's wagon on the embankment to the north. And during the night, somebody gave them a push, and they coasted away to Aberystwyth with no prospect whatever of any breakfast. I'm going to go ahead and suggest that that's not the welcome they were expecting. Oh my goodness, we have birds nesting in this little indoor area. Now, as people have been coming to holiday in Borth since the Victorian period, I think it'd be only right if I take a wander down to the beach, especially as the weather has brightened up enough for me to be able to do so and actually enjoy it. So let's go. Oh wow, I love these multicoloured houses, they're beautiful. And just a quick look at the old station building, which is Grade 2 listed. And as you can see, it's step-free access. Okay, so I encountered this slightly odd little thing at this church. They have a pet cemetery just outside the graveyard. So when I saw the sign for the Devil's Bridge, I was intrigued to see if I could go and find that. However, looking on the map, it is far too far for me to walk and get back in time for my next train. So we're sort of making do with the church, ironically. That said, it's now time to head back to Borth station to get the train to Aberystwyth. We have made it to our penultimate station of the day, Aberystwyth. Aberystwyth was opened in 1864 by the Aberystwyth and Welsh Coast Railway as the terminus of their line that came from Machynlleth. In 1867, the Manchester and Milford Railway opened their own Aberystwyth station to provide access to Carmarthen. This station would later be amalgamated into the Aberystwyth and Welsh Coast Railway station. The station here was extended in 1925, and after that there were 5 platforms. Platforms 1 and 2 were to serve the line to Carmarthen. The line to Carmarthen was initially closed in 1964 due to flood damage and then completely closed in 1965 under the Beeching Acts. Platform 3, which is where I'm standing right now, has been redesignated to Platform 1 and is the only platform still in use. Platform 4 was closed in 1982, as well as the signal box. The tracks were lifted and the signal box was demolished. Platform number 5 was an emergency platform that was on the other side of Platform 4, but very little of that remains at all. The goods yard here was lifted in the 1980s, and a little row of shops known as Western Parade were demolished in the 1990s. This was all to make way for a retail park and bus station. Direct trains to London did run from this station up until 1991 when the service was removed. A small brick engine shed was built at the station in 1864 and extended in 1867. Sadly, this was closed by the Great Western Railway in 1938. The Aberystwyth Motive Power Depot, on the other hand, kept going until the 1960s. It was the last steam locomotive depot on the British Rail network, and it was closed when the line to Carmarthen was fully closed under the Beeching Acts. The Vale of Rydal Railway, which is a narrow gauge steam railway, opened its own Aberystwyth station known as Aberystwyth Smithfield in 1902. In 1925, the Great Western Railway opened a Vale of Rydal station next to this Aberystwyth station, and the Aberystwyth Smithfield station closed. The Vale of Rydal station that the Great Western Railway constructed was temporarily closed between 1939 and 1945 due to the Second World War. After the Carmarthen line was closed, the Vale of Rydal Railway started using the old Carmarthen platforms from 1968, and the Vale of Rydal Railway, interestingly, was steam operated up until privatisation of the line in 1989. Since the Vale of Rydal Railway was rerouted into the Carmarthen platforms, platform number 1 has been lowered to better suit the Vale of Rydal Railway, because otherwise you had to get on the trains at ground level. In 2011, the Vale of Rydal Railway built works on the site of the old Great Western Railway coaling stage, and this allows for heavy restoration of locomotives and such for the Vale of Rydal Railway, which is operated as a heritage railway now. Now let's go and have a look round and see what there is to see at Aberystwyth Station today. We have still got beautiful architecture on the 1864 building. That building over there is where Platform 4 was, and that's now a business called Craft. I think it's a free cycling business. The sign of the station features the logo of the Vale of Rydal Railway that goes from Aberystwyth to Devil's Bridge. As you can see, although there is only one platform in use, there is a run-round loop to accommodate locomotive hauled services. The red brick building that you see here, that's the original 1864 building. The building that is now a Wetherspoons is the 1925 extension of the station. This retail park is where the goods yard used to be. And here's another view of that Craft recycling shop that replaced Platform 4. And this Tesco car park is the location of the old Vale of Rydal Smithfield station. And with that, I'm heading off into Aberystwyth to get something to eat and chill for a bit before my next train. now back at Aberystwyth station, ready to head off to my final station of the day and the final station of my Cambrian line adventures. It is Dovey Junction.
We are now at Dovey Junction. This train is for...
We have made it to Borth Dovey, aka Dovey Junction. So when I got here, I was, to the best of my knowledge, the only person who got off the train and stayed off of trains, because most people see this station as a place just to change over between trains going to Aberystwyth and Borth. The station here at Dovey Junction was opened in 1863 as Dovey Junction. The name was changed to Dovey Junction in 1904. The station building was rebuilt in the 1970s as a flat-roofed structure. In the 1990s, it was then rebuilt again, but it was just replaced with a bus shelter style of waiting shelter instead of a proper station building. In 2008, the platforms and the tracks were raised to reduce the risk of flooding. This was part of a bigger package of work on the Cambrian line, and part of that was the installation of European rail traffic management signalling. The only trains that Transport for Wales had that were compatible with the European train control system were the Class 158s, which is why you just get Class 158s on the Cambrian line, although I do feel like they could maybe double them up so we get 4 cars instead of just 2. There's 2 platforms here. Platform 1 is for trains on the line to Borth, and platform 2 is actually split into 2 sections. So here we've got platform 2A, that's for trains coming from Aberystwyth going to Shrewsbury and Birmingham. But heading back this way, it takes us to 2B. So as you can see from the sign, platform 2B is for trains heading to Aberystwyth. And to enable a train heading to Shrewsbury to be in the station at the same time as a train heading for Aberystwyth, we've got this passing loop. Now let's have a quick look round and see what's here at Dovey Junction station today. What we've got in the middle of the island platforms, I would assume, is the remains of the old station building, especially because we've got this great big chunk of old brickwork. Yeah, I'm just having a look at that. It looks very much like floor tiles. As I mentioned, you've got a great big bus shelter style waiting shelter, a bit of cycle parking, the 2 platforms, platform 2, and its much shorter friend, platform 1. One of the main things I'm loving about Dovey Junction is the scenery. It is a very quiet station indeed. It's so quiet, in fact, that some people have suggested it's the most isolated station in the country. However, it's not, because there is, wait for it, a footpath that leads you out of the station. With that in mind, let's go and find that footpath and have a walk, because we've got a little while here at Dovey Junction. So what you need to do is head down platform 2. It's a long platform. If you get too tired, there's a bench part way down. If you can keep good track of your footsteps, you can have a little glance over at the beautiful views. You can see some little houses up there. Head past the old fencing in between the platforms and the end of the passing loop. There's a grip bin on the way. Take in a bit more of the view. Get to the platform 2B sign And here we have a lovely little barrow crossing. Now obviously, railway safety first, stop, look, listen. Be very careful when crossing the line. And you've done it. Here is a footpath. And the first bit is a lovely bridge over the river. You'll also find some cows. So this footpath will take us to a hamlet known as Dovey, which will be why the station was called Dovey Junction originally and not just Dovey Junction. Very glad I put my boots on today. And there we have it. The station sign, the train times, and the road entrance to Borth Dovey. And if we take a little walk up the road, here's where you can get the rail replacement bus from. And so is there. And with that, it's time for me to head back to Dovey Junction station, ready to get my train back to Talabont. Let's go. I don't fancy walking, so let's use magic. So let's see if we can conjure up some of the old jump magic. And just like that, I'm back at Dovey Junction, ready to get my train to Talabont. I just want to say thank you everybody so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please click like, drop a comment and consider subscribing to see more from me. This was my final Cambrian line adventure. I'll see you again next time for another railway adventure. Bye. As always, an extra special thank you to all of my patrons and channel members whose names are on screen now, as well as everybody who donates to me on Ko-fi. You all keep this channel going.